What is communication? The discipline of communication focuses on how people use messages to generate meanings within and across various contexts, cultures, channels, and media. The discipline promotes the effective and ethical practice of human communication. Communication is a diverse discipline which includes inquiry by social scientists, humanists, and critical and cultural studies scholars. Communication occurs when a sender expresses an emotion or a feeling, creates an idea, or senses the need to communicate. The communication process is triggered when the sender makes a conscious or an unconscious decision to share the message with another person, the receiver. Every communicative act is based on something that conveys meaning, and the conveyance is the message. The message may be either verbal, spoken or written, or non-verbal, body language, physical appearance, or vocal tone. Messages may also come from the context, or place and time, of the communication. For instance, if you choose to make a critical comment to someone, the place and the time you choose to make the comment will make a big impact on how it will be received. Every message is sent and received through one of our five senses. It is seen, heard, touched, tasted, or smelled. The sensory media through which messages are sent and received are communication channels. In a work setting, messages may be seen through body movement, letters, memos, newsletters, bulletin board notices, signs, emails, and so on. Messages that are heard come through conversations, interviews, presentations, telephones, radios, and other audio media. Sight and sound are the two most frequent communication channels used in our society. When the receiver gets the message through seeing, hearing, feeling, touching, or smelling, he or she will usually give feedback or return message, unconsciously or consciously. Thus, the communications process is ongoing. The worst assumption a sender of a message can make is that the message will be received as intended. So many things can go wrong during the communications process that we should always assume that something will go wrong and take steps to prevent that occurrence. Barriers to good communications are always present. For instance, the language itself can be a barrier. Unclear wording, slang, jargon, the tone. Another barrier is the failure of the sender to realize that his or her body language might contradict the spoken message. The channel used to convey the message might be wrong. For instance, you would not use the telephone to relay a lot of statistical information. You would need to write that message on a paper. Poor listening skills can constitute a barrier also. The transactional model of communication. The transactional model of communication is a graphic representation of the collaborative and ongoing message exchange between individuals or an individual and a group of individuals with the goal of understanding each other. A communicator encodes, example, puts thoughts into words and gestures, then transmits the message via a channel, example, speaking, email, text, or message, to other communicators who then encode the message, example, take the words and apply meaning to them. The message may encounter noise, any physical, psychological, or physiological distraction or interference, which could prevent the message from being received or fully understood as the sender intended. Areas within communication. Areas of emphasis differ from one institution to another, but the following are some of the most common areas of study. Applied communication, the study of how communication theory, research, and/or best practices help inform knowledge and theory about communication for practical issues. Communication education, the study of communication in the classroom and other pedagogical contexts. Communication theory, the study of principles that account for the impact of communication in human social interaction. Electronic media, the study of radio, television, media technology, and web design with streaming audio and video. Health communication, the study of communication as it relates to health professionals and health education, including the study of provider-client interaction, as well as the diffusion of health information through public health campaigns. International and intercultural communication, The study of communication among individuals of different cultural backgrounds, including the study of similarities and differences across cultures. Interpersonal communication, the study of communication behaviors in dyads or pairs and their impact on personal relationships. Language and social interaction, the study of the structure of verbal and nonverbal behaviors occurring in social interaction. Legal communication, the study of the role of communication as it relates to the legal system. Mass communication and media literacy, the study of how mass forms of communication such as print, radio, and television disseminate information and influence society. Mediation and dispute resolution, the study of understanding, management, and resolution of conflict within intrapersonal, interpersonal, and intergroup situations. Organizational communication, the study of process used to analyze communication needs of organizations and social interaction, including how to improve communication between supervisors and employees. Performance studies, the study of components such as performers, text, audio, audience, and context within the communication discipline. Political communication, the study of the role that communication plays in political systems. Public address, the study of speakers and speeches, including the historical and social context of platforms, campaigns, and movements. Public relations, the study of the management of communication between an organization and its audiences. Rhetorical criticisms, the process of defining, classifying, analyzing, interpreting, and/or evaluating rhetorical artifacts. Semiotics, the use of verbal and nonverbal symbols and signs in human communication. Small group communication, the study of communication systems among 3 or more individuals who interact around a common purpose and who influence one another. Speech communication, this is the study of the nature, processes, and effects of human symbolic interaction. While speech is the most obvious mode of communication, human symbolic interaction includes a variety of verbal and nonverbal codes. Theater and drama, the study and production of dramatic literature. Visual communication, the study of visual data such as architecture, photography, visual art, advertising, film, and television as it relates to communication. The characteristics of passive, aggressive, and assertive communication. Even if you want to act assertively, we may not be able to understand if we do not recognize the difference in styles of communication. For instance, aggressive behavior is sometimes misidentified as being assertive. It is important for us to be able to identify our own and other styles of communication. There should be a consistent message sent in your verbal and nonverbal communication. For example, even if your words are assertive, I do not like it when you do that. Your body language and other nonverbal cues may be passive or aggressive. Head down, soft voice, or loud angry voice, clench fist. If you are sending mixed signals in this way, it may undermine the effectiveness of your assertive message. Being aware of the characteristics of different styles will also help you better choose how to respond to another person's communication with you. It is important to realize the different styles of communication have their benefits as well as cost. Even being assertive comes with a cost. For instance, people may have become accustomed to you acting in a passive way, and so are not willing or happy to deal with you being assertive, and may resist your efforts to change your style of communication. You can use the following descriptors to help recognize your current styles of communication and to find some suggestions for new ways to try. Characteristics of passive communication. The definition. Passive communication is not expressing honest feeling, thoughts, and beliefs, therefore allowing others to violate your rights. Can also mean expressing thoughts and feelings in an unapologetic, self-effacing way so that others easily disregard them. It is violating your own rights. Also sometimes showing a subtle lack of respect for the other person's ability to take disappointments, shoulder some responsibility, or handle their own problems. The verbal characteristics. Long rambling sentences, beat around the bush, hesitant, filled with pauses, frequent throat clearing, apologize inappropriately in a soft and steady voice, using phrases such as, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, fill in words, example, maybe, sort of, voice often dull and monotonous. Tone may be sing-song or winning, over-soft or over-warm, quiet, often dropping away. Frequent justifications, example, I wouldn't normally say anything. Apologizes, example, I'm terribly sorry to bother you. Qualifiers, example, it's only my opinion, or I might be wrong. Self-dismissal, example, it's not important, or it doesn't really matter. Self-put-downs, example, I'm useless, hopeless, or you know me. Non-verbal characteristics, averting gaze, looking down. Posture can be slouch, wringing hands, winking or laughing when expressing anger, covering mouth with hand, crossing arms for protection, ghost smiles when expressing anger or being criticized, raising eyebrows in anticipation, jaw trembling, lip beating. Thinking style. I don't count. My feelings, needs, and thoughts are less important than yours. People will think badly of me or not like me. If I say no, then I may upset someone. I will be responsible for upsetting them. The payoffs. Praised for being selfless, a good sport. Rarely blamed if things go wrong because you haven't usually shown initiative. Others will protect and look after you. Avoid, postpone, or hide conflict so in short term can lead to reduction of anxiety. The cost. Sometimes prone to buildup of stress and anger that can explode in a really aggressive manner. Others often make unreasonable demands of you, can get stuck in relationships that aren't healthy and find it very difficult to change. Restrict self into other people's image of a lovable good person. When repressing anger and frustration, this diminishes other more positive feelings in you. Loss of self-esteem. The characteristics of aggressive communication. The definition. You stand up for your personal rights and express your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs in a way that it's usually inappropriate and always violates the rights of the other person. People often feel devastated by an encounter with an aggressive person. Superiority is maintained by putting others down. When threatened, you attack. The verbal characteristics. Strident, sarcastic, or condescending voice. Fluent, few hesitations, often abrupt or clipped, often fast. Emphasizing blaming words. Firm voice, tone sarcastic, cold, harsh. Voice can be strident, often shouting, rising at end. Use of threats, example, you'd better watch out. Or, if you don't, put downs, example, you've got to be kidding. Or, don't be so stupid. Evaluative comments, emphasizing concepts such as should, bad, oath, sexual or racist remarks. Boastfulness, example, I haven't got problems like yours. Opinions expressed as fact, example, nobody wants to behave like that, or that's a useless way to do it. Threatening questions, example, haven't you finished that yet? Or why on earth did you do it like that? The nonverbal characteristics. Intruding into the other person's space, staring the other person out. Gestures such as pointing, fist clenching, striding around impatiently, leaning forward or over, crossing arms, unapproachable. Smiling may become sneering, scowling when angry, jaw sets firm. The thinking styles. I'll get you before you have a chance of getting me. Or, I'm out for number one. The world is a battleground and I am out to win. The payoffs. You get others to do your bidding. Things tend to go your way. You are less vulnerable. You like the feeling of being in control. Release of tension. You feel powerful. The price. Your behavior will create enemies and resentment in those around you. This can result in a sense of paranoia and fear. If you're always trying to control others, it can be difficult for you to relax. Your relationships will tend to be based on negative emotions and are likely to be unstable. Aggressive people tend to feel inferior deep down and try to compensate for that by putting others down. Feelings of guilt and shame. There are decreasing self-confidence and self-esteem. The characteristics of assertive communication. The definitions. This is a way of communicating our feelings, thoughts, and beliefs in an open, honest manner without violating the rights of others. It is an alternative to being aggressive, where we abuse other people's rights, and passive, where we abuse our own rights. The verbal characteristics. Firm, relaxed voice. Fluent, few hesitations. Steady, even pace. Tone is middle range, rich and warm. Sincere and clear. Not over loud or quiet. Voice appropriately loud for the situation. I statements. I like, I want, I don't like, that are brief and to the point. Cooperative phrases. Example, what are your thoughts on this? Emphatic statements of interest. Example, I would like to. Distinction between fact and opinion. Example, my experience is different. Suggestions without shoulds or oath. Example, how about or would you like to? Constructive criticism without blame. Example, I feel irritated when you interrupt me. Seeking others' opinions. Example, how does this fit in with your ideas? Willingness to explore other solutions. Example, how can we get around this problem? The non-verbal characteristics. Receptive listening. Direct eye contact without staring. Erect, balanced, open body stance. Open hand movements. Smiling when pleased. Frowning when angry. Features steady. Jaw relaxed. The thinking style. I won't allow you to take advantage of me, and I won't attack you for being who you are. The payoffs. The more you stand up for yourself and act in a manner you respect, the higher your self-esteem. Your chances of getting what you want out of life improve greatly. Expressing yourself directly at the time means that resentment doesn't build up. If you are less driven by the needs of self-protection and less preoccupied with self-consciousness, then you can see, hear, and love others more easily. The price. Friends or family may have benefited from you being passive and may sabotage your new assertiveness. You are reshaping beliefs and values you have held since childhood, and this can be frightening. There is no guarantee of outcome. There is often pain involved in being assertive. Passive-aggressive communication. This is a style in which individuals appear passive on the surface, but are really acting out anger in a subtle, indirect, or behind-the-scenes way. Prisoners of war, or POWs, often act in passive-aggressive ways to deal with an overwhelming lack of power. POWs may try to secretly sabotage the prison, make fun of the enemy, or quietly disrupt the system while smiling and appearing cooperative. People who develop a pattern of passive-aggressive communication usually feel powerless, stuck, and resentful. In other words, they feel incapable of dealing directly with the object of their resentments. Instead, they express their anger by subtly undermining the object, real or imagined, of their resentments. They smile at you while setting booby traps all around you. Passive-aggressive communicators will often mutter to themselves rather than confront the person or issue, have difficulty acknowledging their anger, use facial expressions that don't match how they feel, such as smiling when angry, use sarcasm, deny there is a problem, appear cooperative while purposely doing things to annoy and disrupt, use subtle sabotage to get even. The impact of a pattern of passive-aggressive communication is that these individuals become alienated from those around them, remaining stuck in a position of powerlessness like POWs. Discharge resentment while real issues are never addressed so they can't mature. The passive-aggressive communicator will say, believe, or behave like, I'm weak and resentful, so I sabotage, frustrate, and disrupt. I'm powerless to deal with you head-on, so I must use guerrilla warfare. I will appear cooperative, but I'm not.